Coming up next on The Mikey Martin Show.
Just trying to be able to get in the right frame of mind. And when I need recovery, it's usually because I'm not on that anymore. I've kind of deviated from that. Making sure you find the people in your life that are in your corner who are going to support you through whatever you're going to do. But don't rely on those people to actually accomplish your own goals, because no one's going to work as hard as you do to make your dreams or your goals come true. That's all learning and memory, and all that is just our brains are just forming different neural connections and connecting different parts of itself and configuring itself. That's why sleep is so important. If I do too much of whatever my recovery is, it starts becoming false recovery. Going from recovery to just being another chore.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I have one of my best friends and biggest examples on the show today, and I'm so excited to have him here. I'm welcoming to the show Matt Santos.
What's up, everyone?
He's the best guy. I mean, guys, he's smart, he's charming. You ladies better watch out if he gets on the dance floor. He has some saucy moves.
But if you're wondering, I did pay Mikey to say these things. So
yeah. No, guys, Matt, he was going in to become a doctor. He's actually put that on the back burner right now because he's had a lot of great opportunities in acting. He's been in so many different things. I'm going to give him a second to kind of introduce himself. But guys, I'm just too pumped for today. You can expect some great stuff. Matt, feel free to introduce yourself. What's your name? What's your brand? What are you about? And what's kind of your life mission?
Hey, what's up, guys? Like Mikey said, I am Matthew Santos. I graduated with a biology degree and a minor in Japanese. I was always on track to go to medical school. I've worked in medicine for the last 9 years as an EMT in the ER in several different practices. And suddenly acting just kind of fell into my lap. And I've kind of put medical school on the back burner while I just kind of pursue this. And it's something that I've really fallen in love with. As far as my brand goes, I would describe my brand as being very authentic,
Nice.
Very adaptable, and then charismatic or
Yes.
chivalrous, kind of along those lines. And so that's kind of how I would describe my brand and kind of what I do as far as acting goes, and what I kind of aspire to also to be, and also with some future business endeavors that I have, that's kind of what I would want it to kind of formulate around. And then my mission, I've actually been toying with this whole mission statement thing, and kind of what I've workshopped thus far is to inspire people to fulfill their dreams and help people physically, spiritually, and emotionally through art. And I think art can be interpreted in a few different ways. I think art can be acting, actual like acting art. But medicine is often referred to as like the medical arts. And so whether it's through medicine or whether it's through cinema or commercials or whatever I'm working on, I just want to be able to help people physically, spiritually, emotionally, and then inspire them to like accomplish their goals and like, hey, this is possible. And if you work towards it, you can actually do it, because somehow I'm doing it and I'm not even there yet, but it's been a crazy ride.
Guys, you can already feel the energy. I'm so excited. Anyway, guys, Matt, we have to get into that. I want to know about the art, because the whole thing is kind of, again, our goal is to help people create momentum in whatever they're doing so that they can accomplish their goals and get quicker, better results. But obviously the key to that is recovery. So I want to know, because I always talk about physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. You mentioned a bunch of those when you said art. I mean, can you get into that a little bit? Tell me what you mean by it. How do you do it?
Sure. I don't know. I think art, I mean, if you think like medical arts, right? Like we as doctors or physicians or nurses or PAs or whatever it is in the medical field, like they really have the capacity to help people recover from ailments or from different diseases or from whatever they're going through. I mean, if you go to a therapist, like they help you recover emotionally, right? And that kind of goes into kind of what I've put into practice in my own life to make sure that I'm consistently recovering, and so that I have more of that momentum. Because if you don't, it really sucks, and the breakdowns are terrible. So, but I think art as a medium, aside from medicine, like when it comes to cinema, when it comes to even commercials, I think they're really good at helping us kind of forget or disattach from whatever can be going on in our lives, and kind of relax a little bit and see ourselves in these characters. One thing that I loved, if do you like Friends, Mikey?
I
Like the
love
show
Friends. Guys,
Okay.
Friends is the only show that's made me literally like laugh out loud consistently. I love it.
So Friends is amazing. And one of the things that I love it, if you go back and look at different studies that were done in like the early 2000s, people reported that they felt like they had more friends simply by watching the show Friends. Whether that was because they felt like this weird connection with the actors without knowing them, or it was because they like saw themselves in all of these characters. And so that helps people escape. That helps people like see themselves out of their own body and just be able to relax and relate to other people in different ways. But
I love what you said just a second ago, where you were saying kind of the idea that kind of came through to me was just that, you know, with this art, not because a lot of people will try and watch, you know, cinema to just escape the pressure of life. And that doesn't really help them recover so much as just delay their pressure.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that you're pointing out that this can actually be a growth. This can be something that can inspire you, that can help you want to change. There's so many commercials out there that have been like landmarks in history, because people just, you know, it changes the way you think, and it can help you become the best version of yourself.
100%.
I love that. Well, and you're a part of that. So that's awesome.
And I am. It's been great. I mean, one of the commercials that I love the most, I don't know if you've ever seen it. I'll send you the link later because it's such a good commercial. But I think it's a Thai commercial for, I think it was life insurance. But it was so well done. It's like a minute and a half, and it goes through this guy's life of like, he kind of lives by himself. He doesn't do much, but then he goes out and he like serves everyone around him. And like, he ends up like helping out this family by giving them money. And then they like, it kind of implies that like, oh, you don't know what like these like people are going to do with the money, you know, they might not use it for anything. And then in a different scene, it shows like this little girl with like a whole like school uniform in it, and they were able to do it because the guy had donated money, or like he helped out this grandma. It was just, I mean, it's one of those, for me, it was one of the most life-changing commercials I've ever seen. It's phenomenal.
Well, and guys, you should know that commercial specifically speaks to Matt and his lifestyle. He's a huge includer. When there's a group, he wants to make sure everybody's included. He wants to make sure everybody feels comfortable. I think that's a huge thing that speaks to his character. He's interested in what's best for other people. So I think that's a sweet commercial that ties into you pretty well. But
thank you.
Anyway, Nat, let's get into your specific life, because you seem, I mean, I think a lot of people who know you think, man, Matt is always happy. He's always just, you know, upbeat, and I'm sure he never has a bad day, you know. And even then, like, you know, with recovery, what would he ever do? You know, it seems like everything comes so naturally to him. It's probably not hard work at all, you know. But you are a real human, luckily. And so
luckily I am a real human. But the amount of times I've gotten that in my life is insane.
It's crazy. No, it's just, it's guys, with people who, especially on the outside, appear this way. It's, you know, sometimes your perception versus your reality, you know. You can still stay positive in a hard environment. And that's something I think Matt has totally mastered. Also self-confidence. I think he believes that in any situation, he can deliver good results. And that's a big confidence booster. But Matt, I want to ask you, what kind of recovery do you do? And more specifically, kind of what's the tone or the focus of your type of recovery?
It kind of depends. I think I have different things that I do for recovery for whatever aspect I need recovery in, right?
Nice.
So like, for example, if I do like physical recovery, right? I think when I'm just physically exhausted, whether that's because I'm on set all day and I'm standing all day, or I've been starting to train Muay Thai for the last year or so.
So cool.
And that can get really exhausting. I told you I have a personal trainer now, and so that gets really tiring. I teach dance classes twice a week, so that gets tiring. And so specifically for like, I guess, physical recovery, what I need is like, I have at least a few days in the month where I have like massages planned, spa days planned, yoga planned.
Yeah.
And whenever I go, because I think men often forget about that they can take care of themselves and that it's okay to take care of themselves. But then the mindfulness when I go into those things is that I try not to even think about like I'm doing this so that I can be better. I think that's a good mindset to have sometimes. But to me, I just go in and I just want to relax. I don't want to think about anything. I don't want to think about the commitments that I have. And I think putting myself in that frame of mind actually allows my body to have rest. Because
Yeah.
if I go into my massage and I'm just tense because I know I'm going to teach class afterwards, like I feel like the massage isn't going to have as much of an effect, if that makes any sense.
Totally. Totally.
So that's kind of what I do as far as physical recovery goes. Mental and emotional, oh gosh, therapy is great.
Yes. Everyone
big
needs a
proponent.
therapist, and it shouldn't be your best friend.
I 100% agree. And your therapist should be your most expensive best friend, I
There
think.
you go.
I mean, one thing that I think I've learned from therapy so well is that not everyone needs therapy, but everyone can benefit from therapy.
There you go. I
right.
love
And
that.
so even if you don't need it, I think a therapist can help anyone through anything or with anything to find the right person for you. But that, I mean, has done wonders in my life. Just trying to be able to get in the right frame of mind, because I think a lot of times my recovery that I need is kind of almost like a recentralization to like what my goals are, what my focus is. And when I need recovery, it's usually because I'm not on that anymore. I've kind of deviated from that. And so the things that I do are trying to help me to refocus on those goals and on that focus for that I have. So.
Now, I can't even tell you how often I've heard that on this podcast. It's a realigning thing.
Yeah.
It's that kind of spiritual recovery. You realign your identity with your purpose or whatever.
Yep.
But that is so cool to hear that that's a big thing that you're like, it's just, I need to get back to center.
Yeah, I need to get back to center, because I feel like when you're off center, it's when everything kind of starts going haywire. And I think everyone goes off center. I think it's very normal to go off center. And I think,
and you got to know where center is.
Yeah, and you got to know where center is. And I think if you don't ever deviate from center, like, are you ever going to learn? Are you ever going to progress? Because I think when you come back, hopefully, like when you come back, like if it's a line, right? If it's an arrow going up, like hopefully you're here and then you deviate, but then you come back at a higher point going up, right?
And every time you deviate, guys, every time you deviate, then you come back, you learn again who you are, really. That's your center, and that's who you are. And it's so nice because when you've seen what you aren't, it makes you that much more sure of what you are.
Exactly.
So I think Matt has a huge point there. Matt, has there ever been a time where you went too far away from center to the point where, you know, you had a breakdown, you worked too hard, too long, you had a breakdown, and then you had to spend a lot of time in center before you could kind of go back out?
Oh, 100%. So many times, probably. Yeah, no, everyone that thinks that my life is just like kind of, yay, giddy, and there's no issues. No, there's lots of issues. I'm just good at hiding it, which isn't healthy necessarily. But it can be, you know. And
sure.
Yeah, I mean, one time that I remember specifically, I was probably in my, what was it? Probably junior year? Senior year of college.
Nice.
And I was like, I just killed myself, basically. I mean, I was all throughout school, including high school, I've always worked at least one full-time job and another part-time job, on top of doing school full-time. And so
guys, he's the hardest anyway.
So I mean
he's a hard worker.
My schedule was like 8 to 3 school, 3 to like 10 or 11 work, and then 11 to 2 like school work, and then sleep from 2 to 8, if that, sometimes 3 to 8, and then repeat it all over, and then work on like Friday nights, Saturdays, you know?
Right.
And just not having any like things to do to recover, like knowing what my limits were in order to recover, absolutely killed me. I mean, I had basically a meltdown where I just felt like physically, not only physically could I just not keep up anymore because I was on very little sleep and doing a million things, but I also like mentally and emotionally, like I just was exhausted. Like I didn't talk to anyone about my issues. No one knew that I was going through these hard times, and it all just kind of stayed in. And then until one day it just kind of blew up, and I was in recovery trying to get back to normal for such a long time. And it was really, really hard.
That's so crazy. So, I mean, that is just, anyway, I think it's a reality of life. Do you think that there's any benefits that you got from your breakdown?
Yeah. The fact that I think preparation is really important.
Sure.
And also I think that major breakdown that I had that year is kind of what made me learn that, like, okay, I think moderation in all things is really important. Bridle your passions is another really good lesson. And like, don't run if you can't even walk yet, or walk before you run kind of idea.
Sure.
And I think I learned that from having that, probably that one really big major breakdown, just because like if I don't put things in place to help me get back to center or to allow me to recover, then I'm just going to be dead for a longer period of time. Right.
Totally.
And so like I came to the conclusion where it was like, okay, on Fridays, like Friday's gonna be my day where I'm not gonna do any schoolwork. I'm not gonna have any responsibilities, no more work on Fridays, Friday nights or Saturday mornings. And like Friday nights just kind of became my day, whether that was for me to go out with my friends, whether that was for me to go out and go out dancing or do whatever it was. I needed to do something that was allowed me to relax my mind, where I wasn't thinking about school or family problems or anything going on. And then also just like, yeah, I mean, it was mostly that, just a day that I could just focus on myself and go get a massage or go do whatever, you know? And I think having a ritual, almost a ritualistic day like that, I think is really good. Cause I think Sundays can sometimes be those days, but I think Sundays can sometimes be the busiest day of the week.
Yeah. Well, and then you're just starting Monday again.
And then you're starting Monday again, right? And so, yeah. So.
No, I love that. I love a couple things about that. One, you're planning out a day that you know is recovery day, which means you don't plan anything on that day that's not for you.
Yeah.
And your body knows that, your brain knows that. And so you can actually test your limits and you can know, hey, as long as I, keep one day a week or, even a day and a half, whatever, that's for me, I can keep up with this rigorous lifestyle.
Yep.
And that's just knowing your limits and making sure that because again, if you're not gonna try and accomplish anything in this life, forget about recovery. No, 100%. But I think you're right when you say stay consistent, get those consistent results instead of having a breakdown and being stuck for a long time.
Yeah. Oh, and my grades suffered during that time. Like I was doing great for a while, but then like my grades started suffering. My like work balance started suffering because I wasn't able to get things done on time, where I was just not slacking off, but I was just exhausted at work, And I think the other thing it's a very mental game, right? Like when I put it in my head that, okay, Fridays are going to be my day. Yeah. Like it really helped me get into the mindset when actually Friday came along, and I was like, I didn't feel guilty about being out with my friends or anything, because before, like if I would go out with my friends on like a Wednesday night after work because I didn't have any homework or something, or let's say I did go out on a Friday night, right? Because I didn't have it in my head that like Friday was like my day, I would be out with my friends and be like, oh crap, like I have this to do, I have this to do, I have like all these bills to pay, and like I need to like call my mom, make sure she's alive, and like all these things I had to do, and I felt guilty for being out and not using my time like doing other things, when in reality, like I should have been taking that time to actually recover, and I wasn't.
I think you're so on point. Guys, Matt knows more than anybody, because Matt is, again, I told you, he's a big includer, and he's got Friday nights free, and so he calls me every Friday, and I had this toxic mentality. Toxic. It's terrible. Where I would go and I would say, look, I cannot reward myself along the path to success until I've reached success. And it's so bad for you guys. Guys, I had so many years where I was like, I can't go to the party because I haven't reached my goal yet. And it was kind of this like medal that I was giving myself, this stupid ego medal saying, oh, I'm making the hard choice. But then, guys, the stupidest thing is when I started going and forcing myself literally to go to the parties because I discovered recovery, my businesses took a huge boost because I started meeting all the people that could help me with my businesses. And I kept meeting people who I could help them with their businesses, and things just took off. And I was like, are you kidding? I should have been going to all the parties. I would have gotten more done. And frankly, when you have Friday night off and you aren't thinking in the back of your head, oh, I need to be getting this other stuff done, that's when it becomes real recovery.
Yeah.
Until then, it's just a distraction again, instead of really letting your body go, oh, we can recover now. So huge insights, Matt. I love that. That was so good. So Matt, I want to know, was that kind of the first time that you really started implementing recovery in your life? Was it because you had that breakdown, or was recovery actually something that you were already doing in life?
I think I was already doing it to an extent. I just don't think I was doing it tactfully,
Sure.
or with real purpose.
Nice.
And I don't think I was very cognizant of the the beneficial effects that it would give me. So it wasn't
Sure.
consistent. And so, I mean, I started practicing, like, one thing that I really enjoy doing is guided meditations. Usually like through like different apps or on YouTube. I mean, really just having my headphones in. I could be anywhere in a hallway. I could be in the car. I could be on a yoga mat in my room. And just like going through some guided meditation really helps me like de-stress and like get ready. Like I would do it a lot before tests, or I would do it if I was feeling very, very anxious. Sometimes I would do it then as well. But again, it was never consistent, and
Sure.
so that's why I think it didn't help as much. But like now, like I try to do yoga like once a week just at home, and after yoga, like I'll do a guided meditation thing. And guided meditation I think is good for me, because normal meditation and just sitting there and breathing is great for some people, but for me, like my mind will go wild. Like
Totally.
if my mind isn't distracted with something, like I won't focus
You
on
need something to
recovery.
focus
I will
on.
focus on the
Yeah.
job or whatever I have. And so guided meditation is great because I can't really focus on anything when I'm listening to something,
I love it.
and following whatever the guided meditation is saying. And so that I think has helped me a lot since too.
So with your guided meditation, is it always something different, or is it about because some people are like, oh, guided meditation for being happier, for anxiety, for whatever. Is there a specific topic you try to stick to, or is it just you just try new ones all the time?
To me, it's honestly, it's mostly about just taking the time and having
Nice.
something there to help, not distract me, but having something there that I can work through and work towards. So I usually just try something new. I haven't really seen a big difference. Like if I do the guided meditation to be happier, I haven't really seen a whole thing of like me being happy because I did that specific meditation. But over time, just doing this in general has made me happier. It has made me more relaxed. It has made me less anxious. And so really going into it, and sometimes I learn new things. Like sometimes I learn things from my guided meditations, or think of an idea that I didn't have. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then write it down and then just go back to it.
I love that. I think that's so huge because everybody, I mean, the fact that you are learning to meditate, that's the point.
Yeah.
I love that. So do you have any other meditations or any other mindfulness practices do you do, or is the guided meditation kind of your thing?
I think guided meditation is really my thing. I mean, hiking in nature is always great.
Huge. Absolutely.
Like I love going hiking. Not like anything too extraneous, because then I just get tired physically.
Yeah, then it's not recover anymore. Come on.
But honestly, just like being out in nature, I think is really beautiful. And so whether I drive 3 hours and go to one of the national parks down here and just go and take in some like beautiful scenery, like Canyonlands National Park, there's a ton of views that you can go, and it's not really hikes. You can just walk and see these immensely like breathtaking views. And I think doing that always just is so good at recentering myself and putting everything in perspective. And so I love just doing that. And usually when I do these things, my focus is basically don't think about whatever it is I want to think about. Like, don't think about work. Don't think about these things. Focus on just being there, being present, embracing nature, feeling like it sounds so corny and cheesy, but like feeling the wind on your cheek, right? Like honestly, like looking at the flowers that you walk past, like I think there's so much beauty in the earth that we take for granted because we're always on a rush or always thinking about things. And so I try, if I go out into nature, I try to take the time to actually pay attention to these things.
So I want to know if you're the same. I think a lot of people, when they go out into nature, they tend to actually make a lot of progress by not thinking about it. Their brain gets to kind of rest, and it'll make the connection that they needed. Have you ever?
Yeah, I think that's happened a few times.
Yeah.
Or if it doesn't happen while I'm out there in nature, it's like when I come back and I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
It's like my brain had all this time to relax and like form these connections, right? Because that's all learning and memory, and all that is just our brains are just forming different neural connections and connecting different parts of itself and configuring itself. That's why sleep is so important, because we sleep and that gives our mind time to like form all these connections and organize our memories and like, organize everything. And so if we don't give our brain that time to do that, it makes it so much harder to come up with new ideas, so much harder to have all like these just new ideas, new connections.
I love that. I love that so much, guys. And I want to kind of circle back, because back when Matt was talking about his breakdown, he was just saying that, it taught him preparation is a big thing. And I think that's huge, because the more you prepare, the less strenuous the work, and, the less you really need kind of serious recovery. So Matt, I'm curious, what kind of preparations do you do? What do you think are more effective or more helpful in your life? What's preparation look like to you?
Having a calendar.
Nice. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know how adults function without a scheduled like planner.
Yeah, I don't know. Like Google Calendar is my best friend. I have an issue where I will like double or triple book myself for a time and not know that like I'm not doing it on purpose. But then I go back and look at my calendar and I'm like, oh crap, like I already had something here. And then I promised these two other people I would do something. And then, then life gets chaotic. And so having a calendar has helped immensely, just planning out my day, making sure I plan out my times for recovery as much as I can. Planning out like work stuff, planning out like vocational or like things that I want to get done or different side projects that I'm working on.
Right.
Planning that out, like actually having a calendar and being able to see it in a color-coded manner is phenomenal. And I think I think prepping, like I guess in the line of work that I do now, a lot of times I have to show up to set and I have to be memorized with a script, right? And I've shown up to a script half memorized and it sucks. It's the worst. Like they're expecting something out of you and you're like, what's my line? Like, I don't know it, Right. And it happens. Like they know it happens. It's normal, but it doesn't feel good, like being unprepared. And so like making sure that I'm trying to memorize my lines like days before the actual event, that way I have everything down packed. By the time I get there, it's just second nature and I can just say it and I can focus more on my acting versus, oh, what's my line?
So good. I love that. Guys, you can put that into any context and it'll still be awesome. Because when you prepare, I mean, you can focus on the acting. You can focus on kind of the more important part because you've already got the basics. The part that doesn't take saying the words is saying the words. Like it doesn't take any skill to say the words. Maybe
it becomes second nature to you, right?
Right. The acting part is the skill part. You can focus on that.
I mean, even if you think about like in Muay Thai, right? Like in fighting, like you would think that like you can do a few lessons and then like if something happened and you get in a bar fight and someone's like trying to fight you, that you would know what to do. Half the time, people don't know what the heck they're gonna do, right? Even though they've been taking all these fighting classes. And the reason is because it hasn't become second nature. When things become second nature to us, then we can focus on actually accomplishing our goals or doing things. And so
I love that. Matt, you have so many good insights. You were saying about like neuroscience and all this other stuff. Are there any like books or podcasts that you specifically listen to that you recommend other people check out?
Yeah, I mean, Atomic Habits is a great book. I really enjoy it. One book that I love that I think, I don't know if a lot of people know about it. I know a lot of people that haven't read it. And so Man's Search for Meaning is one of my all-time favorite books by Viktor Frankl. Yeah, 100% recommend reading that book. It is
life changer. Yeah. It's huge. Too many people. I think it should be more famous if it's not.
I 100% agree.
I love that. Matt, this has been so good. I want to ask a new question that I haven't really asked. What's maybe something that you think that you do for recovery that's maybe false recovery? Like with my brother, he was saying, oh, I keep playing games on my phone. And I was like, yeah, like, how's it going? He's like, I just keep playing and I never want to get back to work. And I was like, well, that's false recovery. Real recovery helps you get back to work. It helps you make more progress or get back to the gym or whatever. Is there anything that you do for recovery that you think might be false recovery, or that if you did it better, it would be real recovery?
It's a great question.
It's kind of it's a more, I don't know. I've never asked it before. I just thought, I was like, I think a lot of people have the same false recoveries, whether it's, I don't know. I used to say going to the gym was my recovery, but to be honest, it's not recovery for me. Like I'm putting in work. Like if I go on a run with, I go on a run with music, that's more recovery for me. It doesn't really take too much effort. It's kind of just letting my mind go. But working out, like, that's not real recovery. That for me, that's kind of fake recovery, or really just work.
I would agree with you. I think working out for me is a big one, mostly because I don't enjoy working out. I do it because it's a physical thing that I need to get done, especially in my line of work. But like, I don't necessarily love it. Unfortunately, I wish I was that guy that just loved working out. But like, I don't. And so to me, it is something that is strenuous on my mind. I would say that if I do too much of whatever my recovery is, it starts becoming false recovery, if that makes sense. Right.
That's so like huge insight.
One of the things that I do a lot that I consider recovery is dancing. I love dancing, right? I teach dancing twice a week. I go out dancing on weekends. But if I don't control myself and how much time I'm allotting to that recovery, it turns into going from recovery to just being another chore, another thing I need to get done, another thing that I need to work on, right? And so I need to cap myself on how much time I allot to that amount of recovery, and then it'll actually help me recover. Because if I spend too much time doing it, it'll burn me out. And so like teaching, like I love teaching dancing, but I have learned from experience, if I teach dancing more than twice a week, I will burn out. I will never want to dance again. It gets too much in my head, and it doesn't become a thing that I just don't have to think about anymore.
Wow.
And so to me, teaching max twice a week is the most I can do, and still allow it to be something for me to let loose, let go,
Footloose, man. I'm just kidding. No, it's like, that is so cool. No, guys, I think that's one of the coolest, biggest insights we've had. Too much real recovery can become false recovery. That's so cool. I'm going to think about that now.
Yeah.
Okay, Matt, this has been, anyway, so cool. Last two questions I want to go over are kind of just for you. What is, the first one's, what's a big lesson that you're learning right now in your life, or that you've learned in your life, that's really either teaching you something right now or has taught you?
I think a lesson that I've learned recently, and I actually included it in my Instagram post recently, but it's about resilience. Right. Where I've always told myself, and I say resilience versus like being strong or being a strong person, and I say that because I've always told myself growing up through these terrible situations that I've been in, that I have to be strong, I have to not fall down, I can't fail, like nothing's gonna hurt me, like I will always be the best, or always be at the top, or whatever it is, right? And I think that to me can be so toxic sometimes.
Yeah.
Because in life you are gonna fall, and then when you fall, you feel like shit. Sorry, I don't know if you bleep that out, but you feel terrible, right? Because you're like, oh,
you feel so bad.
I'm setting this expectation for myself that I can't live up to because it's so hard, But resilience, on the other hand, is, I think it takes strength into account, that you have to have strength to like endure and go through all these things. But resilience also takes into account that you are going to fail. You're going to fall, and life's going to suck. But resilience is more about how strong are you to get back up and keep going, And so I think that's something that I've been learning a lot recently, is being resilient to me is much more important than being strong, simply because it's speaking more to, me, taking action and getting up, and like life sucks, I'm going to get through it.
I love that. I love that. I think that's such a cool, huge lesson. Well, and guys, I'm hoping that someday Matt writes a book, because his life, guys, me and Matt have been friends for years. We've been on trips to, Denver together. We flew to Hawaii one weekend just because Matt was like, hey, want to go to Hawaii?
It was literally the day before. I called him on a Thursday. I was like, hey, you want to go to Hawaii tomorrow? We had no place to stay. We had no car, anything, but we had tickets. So
guys, it's an adventure whenever you're with Matt. But I'm hoping that he writes, because guys, on those trips, I've gotten to know Matt really, really well. And he has just the most amazing story. And I think resilience is, if you're going to learn it from anybody, you got to learn it from Matt, because he's stuck to himself. He's stuck to his guns. He's worked hard and he's overcome some really, really crazy struggles. And he's had some amazing experiences that gave him a very unique, I think, view on life, where he got to really create this amazing compassion for humanity. And that's kind of, it feeds into his medical side and also his view on, how acting can actually be a form of kind of that art that's going to help people. And I think it's amazing stuff. So thanks for that, Matt. Last question here. If everybody in the world was going to see this, what would your message to the world be? What would you want to tell them?
Oh gosh, that's so much.
Big pressure time.
But yeah, that is so much. That is so much pressure. Like, what do I want the world to know? First, that
your mom is awesome.
My mom is amazing. I'm almost tempted to say like, God loves you, and because I think it's true. Yeah. God loves you. And I think it's such an important thing. I cuss probably way too much, but I'm a very religious guy. And, God loves you, I think is really, really important. And making sure you find the people in your life that are in your corner who are going to support you through whatever you're going to do. And I think that makes a world of difference. And then on top of that, like, have those people, but don't rely on those people to actually accomplish your own goals, because no one's going to work as hard as you do to make your dreams or your goals come true. And so you just have to put in the work and make sure you have people in your corner who are willing to support you. And if you don't, find those people, and if those people don't support you, then kick them to the curb, because you need people who are going to be in your corner. Because I think, and this goes back kind of to my post on Instagram, something that I learned is it's important to be independent as a person. I think it is important to be independent. But I think we can't forget that as humans, as human beings, we are interdependent on each other. Relationships, money makes the world, people say that money makes the world go round. I would argue to say that relationships make the world go round. Yeah. And so it's so we're all connected to each other. Like, I don't think I'd be who I am today if it wasn't for you, Mikey. I think you've taught me so many things. And like, so many people in my life have affected the man I am today. And I wouldn't be who I am without them. And so to just say that I'm like so independent that I've become who I am without the need of anyone is so ignorant. I almost feel like, Sure. Like I've needed, like, God has placed certain people in my life to help me be who I am. And I'm very thankful for that. And I think we can't forget that as a people. So anyways, that was a lot. I don't know. Hopefully someone can take something from that. But
no, guys, I think especially if you are looking for something more, fundamental in your life, like religion. Me and Matt were both very religious. I think he's totally right when he says God loves you. It's just, it's kind of that universe has your back type of vibe. It's like there's a power working to make sure that you can have an amazing experience in this life. And that's the thing that you've got to know. There's someone in your corner that's helping you. And that's where he says, find friends that are willing to support you in your dreams, but take ownership of your dreams. I think that's just the hugest thing. And if you guys are looking to find that post on his Instagram that he keeps talking about, we're filming this right at the end of March of 2022. So go check it out there. Guys, check out Matt's links. We're going to have his website, his Instagram. By the time you see this, he's going to be a famous actor and a doctor and so many other things. But if you are also looking to kind of find something to bring maybe more of a knowledge of Christ into your life, I do have one other podcast. It's called His Empowering Love Podcast. And it's just kind of talking about your relationship with God. So feel free to check that out too. But anyway, guys, we're going to have Matt back on in season 2. I'm so glad we had him on. And I really hope he writes his life in a book, because I'm going to be the first one promoting it. So Matt, thank you for coming on, man.
Mikey, you're amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.